Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Empowered Hour. I am so excited today because I have a really great friend coming on, and we're going to be talking about a hot button topic, but from a different perspective and lens. So today I have my friend Jackie. Jackie, tell me where you are in the world and how you are doing today.
I'm doing great today. I'm here in Israel.
Okay,
I'm an
awesome.
American citizen and I moved here about 15 years ago.
Okay. So a lot has been happening in Israel, and I
Yeah,
just wanted to get your perspective, a human perspective, because I think a lot of times we get very caught up in the political side, one side or the other, and as it's not as black and white. It's not as easy to make a decision, especially if you are a civilian and if you have a family and you're just trying to live your life, and something like this happens. So if you could share a little bit from your perspective on what has been going on, your thoughts, and then also if you have anything to say as far as just boundaries with those thoughts, that would be great to hear.
sure. Yeah, it's been crazy. We had, you know, a whole year that the whole world went through together. And then on top of that, we had another war. And the feeling when there's another war is collectively is really just like, oh my gosh, like, no, not this again. Like, please, anybody, like, not this again. It's just happened over and over and over again. Everybody's so done. Everybody's so tired. Everybody's so sick of it. No matter what your political stance is, everybody that I hear from, my Arab friends and my Jewish friends, my right wing friends, my left wing friends, we're all so done. That's we're tired, Tasha. We're tired. We're done. We just want peace. And
Yeah.
I believe in peace. And instead of that, we have rockets aimed at our homes. Um, and we have people living in bomb shelters because of the barrage. And we have people needing to drag their little babies out of bed into the bomb shelter throughout the night. We have, I mean, it's just crazy. I have a friend who is in Beersheba and she's shell shocked from the amount of times. I mean, there's only so many times you can run for your life again and again and again and not have it shell shock you. I'm very privileged that I have a bomb shelter in my house. So one thing you got to know about Israeli houses is they're all built with one room that's a safe room that's a bomb shelter. Just that fact is so sad to me, but it's the reality. It's the reality here. Not everybody has that. If you're living in an apartment building, you are getting naked out of the shower into the stairwell with your neighbors. Like, there's no other choice. Some of these bomb shelters are horrible, horrible conditions. And so psychologically, it's been rough, I think, more than anything. Just to feel like someone's aiming a gun at you. And not just you, like your country, your people. And then, it's expected, but not nearly as expected as, I mean, just the rise of anti-Semitism that followed the war hit me harder than anything, because I'm legitimately scared for Jews in the United States right now. They cannot walk around outwardly Jewish and be safe. they're getting attacked right and left in the streets. So it's been rough. My husband was on call to go be called up for the war because he's in reserves. There's a military, there's a mandatory military draft here in Israel because we're such a small country, and we're surrounded by huge, not friendly countries. And we have a whole population here, the Palestinians, who also aren't friendly towards us. And we're using our military power to thwart terrorist attacks every single day.
Now, like I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm also thinking that there's probably a lot of Palestinians who don't want a war, who would like peace. So, you were talking about how there's a lot of unfriendly, nations around, but I'm also thinking that there's probably just a lot of political views that are spearheading as opposed to unfriendly people in those nations. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding when it comes to the scope, because I think that sometimes, especially when you're in it, everything feels like a threat. So I'm trying to get a better understanding just from you, especially just because I know you, and your family is, there, and they're experiencing it, and it's hard. So I just wanted to get sort of that human view of what life is like there right now. And it's scary to hear that there's that there's a mandatory draft. I mean, I probably would hit my boyfriend over the head and take him to Canada. If there was a mandatory draft here. Like, well,
that's what you want when there's rockets aimed at your house. It's for the man to leave and off to war.
Yeah,
it's whatever. There's a lot of emotions. Okay, so thank you for asking that question, because you're right. It's way more nuanced than the Palestinians are unfriendly. That's not what I meant. Here's what I mean. The Palestinian people, not the political leaders and their charters, the people. There are so many good-hearted Palestinians. And I believe in my heart that, we all kind of just we're all humans. We all want the same thing. We all want to live our lives in peace. I have very good Muslim friends. They're wonderful. I have, we have the supermarket where we shop with all of the Arabs in the area, and it's very friendly. It's very cordial. We all help each other out. The thing is that there are Palestinian and Arab Israeli civilians who carry out horrific terrorist attacks against Israeli civilians. Mm-hmm. And so if it was army against army, it'd be very clear, right? That's not what we're dealing with here. There's the IDF and there's Hamas, fine. But then there are Palestinian citizens who, it's like, you don't know when you see a Muslim person approaching you, whether they're going to try to kill you or whether they're a friendly one. Now, the vast majority of them aren't terrorists. The vast majority of them are not terrorists. And I think to equate Muslim and terrorist is racist.
Yeah.
And at the same time, every time there's an intifada, every time we leave our house, we're scared of being knifed by the guy at the bus stop.
Yeah.
Or the guy at the gas station, or the guy at the cafe. Or just standing on the road waiting for a bus and a civilian car coming to run us over.
Yeah.
So it's complicated. There's not good guys and bad guys here. It's way more complicated than the media lets on.
Yeah. And it's interesting to listen to what you're saying and also hear the parallels when it comes to the state of the United States, when it comes to the relationship between the police and the African American population, Black population in the United States and people of color, because I have interviewed some of my friends who are dealing with, protester safety and really out there in the thick of it when it comes to equity.
Yeah.
And they don't know if, this police officer that is coming up to them is going to, go by the law, or if they're going to get shot and, for the speeding or for something along those lines. So it's really interesting to just kind of listen to what you're saying and also hear, because we recently in the town that I'm from, a police officer ran over a civilian and then just kept going. And, there's backstories to that and everything else, but it does put a lot of people, especially people of color in the United States, on edge when there are so many question marks, because you want to be able to trust these people who you see on a consistent basis. And that's kind of what I'm getting from you, is that you want to be able to trust, like your heart wants to be able to trust your neighbor. But then all that you've been, all of the messages that you've received are telling you this could be a threat. I want to protect my children. I want to protect my family. It's not safe. So for you as an empowerment instructor, what are certain things that you have done to combat that? How have you supported your community in that way?
Yeah. The biggest thing that I've done on a personal level to combat that is sit down with an Arab and have coffee and talk and start to see each other as humans, visit their house, have them visit my house. And these are things that are not widely done. But once you start to see each other as humans, you kind of dissipates the fear. And this is not something you're going to get from reading the news about what's going on in Israel. This is something that you need to do on your own, the same way we're doing right now, sitting down, talking, humanizing, hearing the human perspective. And now, I see an Arab walking down the street, I see another human. I don't see threat, but I was there.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, it's like, I want to trust you and I have completely legitimate reason to be fearful for my life. And so how do you hold both of those? Well, as self-defense instructors, we've kind of embodied this, right? People are safe. The world is safe. People are good. And because I trust myself so much to know when something is actually a threat, I can live my life freely. And so that's been huge for me, is having that embodied skill that comes from empowerment self-defense. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, of course.
And I also just want to say that I am completely aware of the trauma on the other side too. Palestinians in Gaza are suffering. It's not good over there. They're not having a good time. They're not having a good lives in Gaza. They're being oppressed. And there is a lot of issues with the Palestinians in the West Bank as well. The thing about Gaza is, who are you going to point your finger at for that oppression? Because it's been, Palestinians have a crazy political status that no other nation has, that was given to them by the UN. This isn't a normal conflict, is I think what I'm trying to get in people's heads. This is not your storybook Star Wars conflict. This is complicated, okay? And so, yeah, we have big major issues that Israel needs to do a much better job of figuring out. And again, I'm not a politician. I don't have the answer. I'm not coming with a political solution. I'm just coming, Tasha, like you said, with the human side of it.
As a mom.
But yeah, mom.
Yeah,
but
and a wife.
There's Palestinian moms too, and there's Muslim, and like we're all trying to make a better world for our kids.
Yeah.
But since Israel evacuated every single Jew out of Gaza, that happened in 2005. That's something that I was made aware that a lot of people aren't aware of. There are no Jewish settlements in Gaza anymore. They're gone. We dismantled them. We actually ethnically cleansed Gaza of our own people. It was a very painful thing. We displaced thousands of Jews from our homes. We did that to ourselves because in the hope that maybe if we give them sovereignty like they're asking for, we'll have something different at least. What happened? Hamas took over. And Hamas is a terrorist organization hell-bent on destroying Israel at the expense of the Palestinian people. And so the Palestinians are suffering. They are, I haven't spoken to enough Gazans to really know what they think, but the world picture is it's Israel's fault, right? That's the story, that's the narrative that's being put out, very much so. And yes, we bombed them. I don't love that. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I don't like violence. I think it's wrong. I don't want anyone to die. Let's just make that very clear. Okay. Yeah. But the oppression of the Palestinian people has way more to do with Hamas than Israel. The rockets were aimed at civilians, the rockets from Gaza. Our bombs we aimed at Hamas terror cells, and that media tower, which if you want to talk about the media tower, like I can, but it's a separate topic, right? And they're shooting these rocket launchers from densely populated civilian areas, sometimes even hospitals, sometimes even kindergartens. And so, should we bomb them? I personally think no. I'm not head of the military, right? But there's a reason why their numbers are higher. Hamas is their government, spending billions of dollars on rockets instead of serving their own people. On terror tunnels. It's the amount of money that went into building those terror tunnels. So
what is a terror tunnel for people who don't know what that is?
So Hamas, they built tunnels underground. They're underground cells that are completely paved on all sides. And they were used to dig under the border to come out into Israel so they could carry out terrorist attacks in the surrounding communities of Gaza. And they are armored. So if Israel bombs Gaza, whoever's in the tunnel will be safe. But only Hamas officials are in the tunnel. They're not bringing their own civilians into the tunnels with them. Like, it's crazy. And Israel, this is going to be like, I feel like a lot of things I say on here, people might not believe because the narrative of the media has been so strong. Like the media war we lost. We completely lost the media war. They did a way better job of telling their narrative, way louder. P.S. We're only like 12 million people in the world. We're like Jews are like less than 1% of the world population.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if we were loud, just the numbers flatten us. Some of these celebrities, who were the celebrity, the like really famous women? Hadid? What's her name? Is it Isabel Hadid?
I don't know. I don't have a television on Maui.
Oh. I also didn't know who she was, okay?
Yeah,
but apparently she has more followers on her Instagram than there are Jews. Like, and so the media war is done. And so a lot of things I say, you as a listener may resist a lot because it's very hard for the human brain to handle a story that's so flipped from the one that you've been told. And so if that's you right now, I'm holding space for you. You're human. It's okay. Like, I get it. I get that you're resisting this, but know that this is my experience. This is, you know, I'm here in Israel on the ground. I'm not thousands of miles away.
And you're not a political figure.
I'm not a political figure. My husband serves in the army here, and so just be open for the other perspective, okay? The Israeli military is far from perfect, first of all. I don't agree with a lot of things they do. I think they need to do, I have very high standards for the way that my people behaves, okay? Higher than what they've been doing. But they're still doing way more than any other military in the world as far as protecting civilians. They're sending text messages to every single person that lives in and is in the surrounding of the building they're going to bomb. They drop tons of flyers from planes to make sure that the people in the streets also get the message, hey, we're going to bomb this building. And then they warn the building itself a couple times before they bomb it with like these knocks. I'm not really sure what they are.
On the other side. So, right.
So before Israel bombs a building in Gaza, they make sure that everyone knows, hey, guys, we're going to bomb this building, okay? So make sure you clear out because we're going to bomb this one at this time. Make sure you're not around. And it's like, can you hear how much of a game this war is? We've been doing this again and again and again. And it's like, oh, we're bombing today, just so you know. I have on record this IDF official telling this Arab man in Gaza from across the border, because he's in a field watering his agriculture, like calling him on the radio to tell him to leave because they're going to start shooting. Like, hey, dude, listen, it's wartime, so please clear out, get your family safe, get them home. We're going to bomb in a couple minutes. Like, this is not a normal war. P.S. All of these rumors, and that's exactly what they are, hateful rumors that Israel is enacting a genocide in Gaza. Did we kill a lot of people? Yes. Is that okay? No. A genocide is when you actively try to kill as many people as you can of a specific nationality or ethnicity in order to destroy them. Now, the big argument that Israel has all these tanks and all these planes and all this technology and this amazing army, we all know if we wanted to enact a genocide in Gaza, we would have done it a long time ago. That's not what this is about. This is very much, you know what? I don't pretend to know what it's about. I think that we want to think it's about protecting civilians, and Israel needs to do what they need to do in order to protect Israeli civilians. I'm getting the feeling lately like there are people benefiting from the ongoing of this conflict. Otherwise, it would not be still a thing, even though everyone's so tired of it. Somebody is benefiting. And all of the people, like me and the Palestinian people, we're all pawns in this game. This is conspiracy theory, okay? But that's talking about listening to your gut and something feels off to you. That's very much what it feels like.
Well, if you think about any any war that happens, there's someone who is supplying the weapons who gets paid. There are people who are going to get paid for going off and fighting, or who are going to be in charge of everyone. I think that it's not far-fetched to believe that obviously there are people on either side who are going to be benefiting from a continuation of war, especially, you know, when it comes to the United States and how many years we had been at war and constantly sending out our military to different places, and they still do in different areas. It's just ongoing, it's nonstop. And you know, it is really interesting because we have so many people who are picking sides when it comes to this war. We haven't had the same experience here where I'm concerned and running down to a bomb shelter. I'm not worried for my family to get bombed, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So it's a different lens, I think, than it is for you who is actually there and living the experience. And it would be a different lens from a Palestinian person who is there living the experience and just trying to go through their day-to-day life and trying to get their kids to have some sort of normalcy. How are your children doing with everything that's been going on? And can you, are you willing to talk a little bit about them?
Sure. So I was in Amsterdam 2 years ago with my husband, and we happened to be there. You know, Amsterdam's it's famous for its art museums, amongst other things. But the art museums there are really amazing. So there happened to be a Banksy exhibit in the Pop Art Museum. So if you don't know who Banksy is, definitely look him up, but he's the most iconic,
right?
The most iconic street artist in the world. So he had an exhibit, and he had this one picture of a little boy and a little girl. The little girl had a teddy bear dangling from her hand, and they were standing on a huge pile of bombs and rockets. And they were kind of just looking like they were okay, because they're so innocent that they don't even really understand. And when I saw this picture, I just started bawling, because it really just so perfectly encapsulated what it feels like to look at these children they're so innocent, they're so pure, and they have this giant war going on. I mean, I had to talk to my son about which animals which stuffed animals he would be able to bring into the bomb shelter, because he's so attached to all of them. You know, I mean, like, that's just what lockdown does. When you can't see any of your friends and you're 6 years old, you're attached to your stuffed animals. And so we had to tell him, listen, we only have a couple minutes to get in there. We're not going to be able to round up all your stuffed animals. We need to talk to him about, like, you know, we have to think about your little sister's life more than your stuffed animals. And he had, you know, and he had to go through this whole, like, oh my gosh, what if I have to leave them? That's the kind of things that they are going through. It's really weird. It's really weird to be a kid in Israel. Mm-hmm. Then they're seeing this huge spike in anti-Semitism all over the world. And they're hearing us talk about it, because of course we're going to talk about it. And we had our in-laws flying from the States. My son goes to me, Hamas shot a rocket right at Grandpa's plane. They'd hit a jackpot of Jews, wouldn't they? That's what he said. Like, they get it and they don't get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking. It's just, the whole thing is heartbreaking.
What is, I mean, as far as just them going to school, them doing day-to-day things, is that something that they're able to do now, or is that something that's just sort of on hold?
Right. So in this particular war, there have been many, and there is going to be more. Like, it's kind of like a see you next summer kind of war. In this particular war, we did not have any sirens in our area.
Okay, that's good.
We have in previous wars. So we were ready for it. You know, we got our bomb shelter ready, but my area was one of the only areas that, like, did not have, even the north got sirens, bombs coming in from Lebanon. So thank God they were able to go to school and live their day-to-day lives. My friends in the Tel Aviv area and in the south, in the Tel Aviv area, schools were closed. You're not going to bring hundreds of kids to school knowing that you're going to have to bring everyone into the bomb shelter of the school and you have no idea when it's coming.
Yeah.
You have to listen the whole day for the siren. In the south, they were living in their bomb shelters. It was just siren after siren after siren.
Yeah.
So you might go out and then down there, they only have like less than a minute, maybe a minute to get in. Whereas the further away from Gaza you go, the more time you have. So I have 7 minutes, they have 60 seconds. So they can't really leave. But now there's a ceasefire and everything is kind of back to normal. Like this whole war ceasefire thing is such a game that is just silly, to be honest. It's just silly. Like, we all are, it's silly except for the real people are getting really hurt, right? It's like, okay, ceasefire, let's go to the beach now. Everything's kind of back to normal, and we kind of know that this isn't the end. This is going to happen again because we don't really have a solution for this. And we're all just kind of like pissed and trying to live our lives to the fullest during the ceasefires. It's a weird thing, Sasha. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like it must be really hard as a parent um, to have to explain to your children about that whole process, and also just, you know, I am not a parent, so if I was, I'd feel like I would be holding them closer, or trying to spend as much time as possible with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of is, it's kind of a constant here. You know, it kind of becomes your norm that you send your kids off to school. You really hope that they'll be safe. It takes a lot of trust. Um, I'm a God believing woman, so I trust. I know I'm meant to live here with my family. I know that that's God made it very clear that's what he wants from me. So I trust, and I just trust, and I trust, and I trust. That's all I can do.
When
I'm hoping,
oh, go ahead.
I'm hoping that one day Israelis and Palestinians will somehow learn to trust each other. That's the only way we're going to move out of this.
And I think that you're starting that process by going out and having coffee, and trying to converse with different people from different backgrounds. I think that that's a really great start. I was just thinking, you know, when it came to your decision to move from the United States, where were you from, the United States?
I moved from Denver, Colorado.
Okay. Yeah. And what were the big pieces for you to move? What were the reasonings behind that move for you?
So you got to know that I was a teenager when I made that decision. Okay. So there was no logical, rational thought process behind it, which I'm very actually glad of, because I might not have done it. Right. Like I see my adult friends with their families move here, and I'm like, whoa, how did you make that decision? It's not a rational thing to move here from the States. It's much more comfortable in the States, or it has been up until now. Now I'd say in this climate, it's more comfortable for Jews in Israel right now than in the States. But it very much was an emotional, energetic, spiritual decision.
Okay.
It's kind of funny when people ask me that, because it's like you have ties with the indigenous people, right?
I'm part
You're
Native
partly
American. Yeah.
indigenous, right?
Um, yeah. Part Nez Perce Native American, and I'm also an adopted member of the Stolo Nation. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
So the Jewish people are the indigenous people of Israel.
Okay.
So our history here goes back millennia, and in every spiritual tradition, in all of our books, all of our prayer books. I mean, the First Testament has been translated to English. You can open it up, you can look, you can see that basically the entire book is about coming to this land. Like there are rituals and practices, and I think the Native Americans are the only other people that might actually really get this. Like the land itself is sacred to our people. There are rituals, sacred rituals that we can only really do on this land. And so it's a spiritual tie. And so it happens to be that I was born in a generation where we had the opportunity to come back, be sovereign, revive our ancient language, and resurrect those rituals for our people. And so when people ask me, like, why did you make it? It's kind of funny to me. It's like, what do you mean? Like, this is my home. Like, how can I not? And I get why a lot of Jews aren't coming here. Um, but I happen to have been called.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
Well, I know that for me, moving to Maui was a really big decision in my life. And definitely, I wasn't doing it to come to a sovereign land of my people because I'm not Hawaiian, but it has been a really amazing leap for me to be able to live fully, live freer, um, definitely get to experience a whole new side of life that I don't think I would have ever had if I had stayed on the mainland in the United States. So
Yes, you
that's
get it a
why
little.
yeah. So that's why I ask, is just because I know that anytime you're making a move and it's a move away from your family, it's not necessarily a move with your family, because that makes it a lot easier. It's like, oh, the whole family's going. It's like, no, it's just you. uh, I feel like there's more of a weight to it with making that decision. And I think that for my partner and I, it was a really great opportunity for he and I to explore what life was like as a couple, outside of all of the different social norms that go along with living where we were living. So we kind of
Wow.
just get to be ourselves. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So
Yes, I very much feel like I can be myself much more integrated over here. And yeah, thanks for touching on that, because that's definitely part of it.
yeah. So
I probably wasn't even aware of.
well, so what's next for you? What are the big plans, the fun, exciting things to come for your family, for you, if with your business? What are certain things and updates that you wanted to share?
So much. Oh my gosh. The first one is incredible, amazing news that Yakir, my husband, um, has always been my partner in this business. In fact, it was his idea, not even my idea. I was fine, like taking care of babies and folding laundry and going out to teach self defense like a couple times a month. And he pushed me to build something real out of it. So he recently left his full time job to go all in on this business with me together. So we're working on it together full time, and it is just like a dream come true. I can't
That's
even tell you.
awesome.
It is such a dream come true to be able to hang out, have him home, build something super meaningful together, dream together, motivate each other. I know it's not for all couples, but for us, it's just like the journey of a lifetime right now. So we are very much focused right now on building the online part of the business, which I love because it has the potential to be global, it has the potential to bring anyone who, is meant to be in our programs in them. And so it's been a wild ride. And and that's what's going on. And right now I'm in the process of getting certified for a really amazing healing technique.
Cool.
So in a couple months down the road, I'll be able to implement that also with my clients and programs.
That's
It's just sort
awesome.
of like a missing piece that I felt was not really there, like was the actual healing from the trauma, and moving through, like how to move through some of the emotions of it and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for that.
That's awesome. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Well, how can people find your work if they want to? It's a great way for them to get in touch.
Yeah. Definitely Instagram. I hang out there a lot. So if you search Queen Rise Power on Instagram, or even Jackie Hyman on Instagram, you'll likely find me. Um, I do answer DMs. And you can also find me on Facebook.
Awesome.
Search Hyman on Facebook. And yeah, as far as the Israel-Palestine conflict, though, I'm not available to talk in DMs. It's just a way more complicated, nuanced situation that can really be hashed out that way. I believe in face-to-face dialogue when it comes to issues that are this heated. So you can DM me about self-defense. Please don't DM me about Israel-Palestine or tag me on Israel-Palestine posts. But if you want to speak to me about self-defense, I'm available for that. If you really are genuinely want to learn more and are very curious, then and want to set up a face-to-face thing like Tasha and I did, then I'm available for that.
Yeah, awesome. And, you know, and just for the audience to know, for me, this wasn't about having Jackie on as the expert know-all, do-all when it comes to this war. It was
I'm
really
so not.
important.
FYI.
It was just really important for me because of knowing this person and really valuing her and her work, and the life that she's created, to have her on and be able to have her share her side of the story. I think that we get very caught up in the story of, you know, in media, and there's so many layers that come with that, you know. I remember just thinking about like my family with my grandfather going into World War II, and you know, and everybody's like, oh, that's amazing and wonderful, and we have pictures of him when he's in his military suit and your uniform. We don't say suit. See, this is how far removed I am. But you know, like there's that, and he looks very regal in his picture. But a lot of people don't know that his ship was bombed and he had to carry his best friend ashore, only to find out that he was carrying half a body. And so there was a letter sent home to my grandmother saying that he had died. And so that I know that there are so many layers when it comes to war that aren't just about politics, that aren't just about one group of people versus another. There's a very human side to it that a lot of people don't want to delve into, because it is sad, and you might connect with that group of people that you're so focused on staying against. So so I just wanted to bring Jackie on for that reason. Jackie, I'm wishing you the best. I'm really excited to hear more about this healing practice that you're doing, and get updates on Queen Rise Power. I'm very excited for you.
Tasha, you have no idea how much it means to me that you wanted to speak to me about this, because a lot of people don't. And the fact that you came at this with the angle of let's humanize humans, with the amount of dehumanization that's going on right now, it gives me a lot of hope. So I really, really appreciate it.
Yes. You take care of yourself, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, you too.
All right. Aloha.
Bye. Bye.